Hello, adventurers, and welcome to Roll For Bluff, our podcast where we discuss our ongoing Dungeons & Dragons campaign, Bards and Nobles. I am Sam, and I play Calmine, a tiefling rogue. To my right, we have Tristan, who plays Sorn Thunderfist, a Goliath barbarian. And to my left, we have Brandon, who is our dungeon master. They'll be joining me as my co-hosts and my alibis. We're continuing our story tonight in Danger in Dramek.
Dun dun dun!
Brandon, will you do the honors and kick us off?
So, soon after rescuing the poor town of Humbleton from nefarious plots and demonic devices, the team had heard rumors of a coliseum where they could fight and win glory and money. As well as
was all about.
as well as a fighter who followed Thor, a dragonborn.
Even more about that.
On their way out of the city, they ran into the same individual, the Fire Ganassi, from the warehouse where they had originally fought Bellington, Charon. And when they talked to him, they discovered his true purpose for being in town, which was to get blackmail on Lord Bellington who's named Mr. Droppelman, to blackmail him into unforeseen riches and power. So that led them to pursue more into Dramek to find out what else and who else was looking at Humbleton and Lord Bellington, to see the connections that they could find more into the clockwork and more into the mystery of the demons that they saw. So Sorn was pretty much the steadfast head towards Dramek because of the glory and the...
Well, there was also the fact that, this one's trying to get blackmail on Humbleton. It's like, Humbleton's a good town, you jerk. How dare you harass them? I'm going to go find out some stuff about that.
The worshiper of Thor, though, was the big hook.
That was a big thing, yes.
Yeah.
Because he's all alone.
So how did he feel to learn that other people knew about Thor?
Well, that was cool. I mean, there's especially not a whole lot of people in the area that are going to have that. So to find someone else, he was like, oh, maybe I can have a friend. I'm all alone. I travel alone. I'm exiled from my family. I need some friends.
I travel alone, looks to the four other people you're with.
Alone.
Which, right before they left Dramek, is when Aristotle received news in a letter that he had to leave in search of someone that was trying to contact him, and that is when he left the group for an unknowing amount of time. So that is when Aristotle dropped out of the party, and that's when the party became 5 instead of 6.
Right.
So the work / way over was pretty uneventful. There was only one night when they were ambushed by thugs, and they quickly killed them because the thugs were not prepared to fight people who had just taken out mostly a giant mechanical dragon, a warlock, and a wizard, all on their own, plus a bunch of other things.
Thugs show up and we're like, we don't have time for your shit. Bah! Oh God, we don't have time for our shit.
And they were murdered pretty quickly.
Rest in peace, nameless thugs.
Let's do a little thing in memory of. So then they get to Dramek, which wasn't the cleanest of cities and isn't the cleanest of cities. It's pretty well fortified, though. There are large walls on the outside of the town. It's not on the coast. It's just like Humbleton, a little away from the coast. And they did what any adventuring party does when they get into town. Started exploring everything.
We had
to find an inn, because we got there and we're like, we need at least a place to stay. And then while we were doing that, it was also, well, I'm also going to look for this. I'm also going to look for this.
And everyone had their own agenda to find.
Yeah.
Because I think we went to the bar just to get information. Because we were like, hey, where do we find out about stuff? And the guards were like, go to the bar. And we're like, all right, go to the bar. And that's where, because we all met there, and that's where everyone kind of parted and separated.
A little bit.
Yeah.
That is also around the time when you started hearing about the Coliseum, and there was a tournament about to happen. You didn't know anything about it. You just heard people talking about it.
Right.
And but you continued on your merry way. And along the way, you went into a bookshop, and that is where Liren found Chansey Brew and the Barty Boys, her favorite book series that is totally not based on anything real. I don't know where any of you got that idea from. And when they were leaving, then they were leaving the bookshop, and as they were leaving, Cal heard a voice in the back of her head, which she recognized as the wonderful, eloquent, beautiful Fox, which she immediately did a 180 and walked right back in.
Now, to clarify, I stealthed away from the party to go back to the bookshop, and Rhaegorn noticed.
Who you and him have had some form of a friendship that of all your drinking and the
drinking,
right,
the downtime
right.
and stuff. He was like, I'm going to make sure she's
so
okay.
So he followed me, unbeknownst to me.
Because he stealthed better.
Because he stealthed just a little better.
Rangers. And when she entered and then he entered, they realized they weren't in the same bookshop. So, thinking she was alone, but like I said, followed by Greg, they started to talk to each other, and Fox wanted to, learn more about Cal and get used to, working with the group because he'd taken an interest to them. And that's when he realized that Greg was there. And they're actually, before he realized Greg was there, Cal and Fox had a pretty friendly discussion. They were actually, getting to know each other. And then when...
To the point where, Fox even brought up a mirror to try and communicate with the...
Yeah, Fox was like, if you need, we can do this. But that quickly got dashed when...
Rhaegorn stopped being stealthy.
When Rhaegorn did not roll high enough on stealth and was seen by Fox and by Cal. And that's when the paradigm shifted.
That's when everything just went to hell in a lovely little Rhaegorn-shaped handbasket.
Oh, it's wonderful.
It was awful.
So, Fox, knowing that Greg was a demon hunter and knowing that Greg was in the City of Brass not too long ago, roughly whenever you guys were, which is weird. And he kind of questioned how Cal had met Greg and
around
and how Cal had Cal and the group straight up lied to Fox. So
this made him very angry.
It made him very angry, and in return, he threatened the group's lives, not just those two, but the entire party, and offered a deal, more like an ultimatum. Either do this thing or die, which was to take on one of the two feuding demon lords at the moment, which was Mephistopheles or Yangu. And for those of you who don't know who Yangu is, he is the demonic father of gnolls. So there's two warring factions in the demonic abyssal plane, pretty much hell, the nine hells, and the deal was they had a year.
Yes.
You had a year.
Yes.
To take down, just not kill them, but take them down a peg, in whatever, or kill one or die trying. And he would forgive the bold-faced lie and, dishonor.
Something seems a little uneven about that. Okay, you lied to me. Go take down a demon lord.
It was either that or die.
It was either that or die, so...
Well, I'm not going to say someone overreacted here, but someone overreacted here.
It was Cal when she agreed.
Well, you're not wrong.
She agreed and shook on the deal, and immediately was branded, just like Rhaegorn was, by Fox.
Everyone was branded. Everyone.
Well, that was a little bit later.
Was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they were marked, and Fox told them that he would be able to tell wherever they are, wherever they went, whatever they were doing. If he wanted to check in and find them, he could. Fairly easy. And
Great.
let them go. Just whoop whoop. So, how'd that make you feel?
Awful, really. First of all, Cal was very mad that Rhaegorn had followed her. Because if that not happened, I think we could have gotten away with that for just a little bit longer.
Had that not happened, this entire campaign would be in a radically different place.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. If that hadn't happened, if you hadn't set that up, this campaign, we were heading down one way, and I was planning this, and then you did that, and it just shattered this, and a new reality came into form.
So like a normal D&D.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
right.
You took what I thought you were going to do and threw that out the window.
I mean, to be fair,
That's what happens when you invite other
it
people.
wasn't my fault.
No, it was not.
I get blamed a lot for it, though.
It's kind of your
fault.
Well, we get to more reasons on why it's Cal's fault later.
I mean, yeah, maybe a little.
I know how it made Greg feel.
Yeah.
He wanted to drink a lot. He felt really. He felt bad, but he also felt sad. He was then marked by a demon who he was trying to hunt. Well, not that demon, but hunting demons.
But he's a demon hunter.
So that leads into when they met up with the rest of the party. They didn't say anything. They bold-faced lied to everyone.
Yep.
This party. Oh boy.
We're not friends.
I mean, I think the reason that Rhaegorn and I, and to be fair, Tanner and I kind of metagamed a little bit because we did talk about it outside of when we were playing. I think to some degree we thought that if we didn't tell them that they wouldn't be involved in some way, that they wouldn't be marked in some way, that the burden would be solely on me and him.
Very valiant thinking. Stupid, but valiant thinking.
Yeah. That turned out not to be the case.
Oh, hell no.
So we lied, essentially, to try to protect them, which it wound up not really making any difference anyway, so.
That led them into their first night, where the group, two of them wanting to drown their sorrows.
Oh, boy.
And how convenient. There was a drinking game.
There was a drinking contest where it was a 5-on-5 drinking. It was about speed and being able to keep the alcohol down. It was each one was a best 2 out of 3 drink off. So, and if you won in total out of the 5, if you won if you won 3 bouts, you would get pretty much free drinking rights, and they didn't know at the time, free room and board, or as long as they had the tokens they got. Mm-hmm. Well, they were hoping to get.
Yeah.
Through literally the skin of their teeth.
Because it was alternating. It was like one, the other, one, the other.
It was back and forth. It was insane. I loved it.
I was going to say, because it went pretty fast for some of them, because I think Soren beat outright.
Oh, Soren.
He was like, boom.
Your constitution was high enough. Because it was a dex to get it up and shoot it down faster. And it was constitution to make sure you didn't upchuck.
Right.
Yeah.
And based on what your dexterity was, if it was super low, it would make it harder on your constitution because you'd be, shit, and it would slosh around your entire stomach.
Right. I remember Liren doing really well.
Liren crushed it. You crushed it. And it came down to Greg, was it?
I think it was Greg.
Yeah, because you lost and Bilal lost.
Yeah, my dex was good, my con was not.
No.
So you're like, ha-ha, this is gross.
Basically.
Because if they threw up, it was done. They lost.
Yeah.
So, you lost on con, he lost on dex.
Yeah.
He was out
like,
drank.
oops.
He was out drank speed-wise. You...
That's right, because they were like, badoof, and he was...
To be fair, though, I had already been drinking before that, so I had disadvantage.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Bilal was facing the dexterous half-elf, which was like, done. And you just couldn't hold it.
I was already shit-faced.
So, Greg threw, I think it was a 1-point difference.
Yeah.
It was like it was 17 versus like an 18.
Close.
Yeah, it was like his glass hit the table like
just
half a second before
yeah.
theirs did.
And bada bing, bada boom, they had one.
Yeah.
And we're all very drunk.
It's a good moment. You're so proud. We kept drinking.
Yes.
It's great.
They had gotten their tokens, and they had a moment of unknowing peace and solitude between the most of the party. Did not understand what was happening, which led them into the next day, that is when...
But before that, when we tried to go to bed, that's when we encountered...
Oh, yes, that's correct. Well, when they were trying to go to bed, Greg being Greg...
drinking and...
Rhaegorn being Rhaegorn, decided to hit up a fly honey at the bar. And by hit up a fly honey, I mean... bungle his way through an interaction, which worked, and ended up going upstairs to the room with this lady. And after a little bit of time, and through sheer dumb luck on your...
I had decided to kind of keep an eye on him because I knew he was really drunk. So I'd kind of I'd use message at one point, kind of knowing...
What are you doing? And where did you go?
And happened to realize that something was wrong.
Yeah, and then so you bust in, and Greg, who was pantsless...
And knocked out.
Was on the floor, and above him was a changeling monk who immediately went, boof, and then ran. And a chase was given. Unfortunately, Trish got away.
Which is the changeling.
Her name is Trish. She got away. You didn't really understand why that happened. I do remember the group thought, oh, she was just a thug. She was just trying to steal from us. Like, we were all drunk. We just won.
Right.
But, so that's how that night went. And then the morning is when one of your party members went missing.
Right. So we had signed up for the Coliseum the day before.
Yeah, you'd signed up. You were waiting for the next day to go to it.
Right.
Which
is why we still went along with the Coliseum, because even though in the morning
because we'd already decided to do it.
Right.
We didn't want to lose out on doing it.
So Liren went missing, seemingly kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when you had gone to the Coliseum to kind of check out the area. You hadn't been there yet because, you were waiting for the day of. And you go there, and you meet up with a few of the people who are selling things. You meet with some of the other contestants, like Harold the Barrel. You also met with... who was the other one you met with? Of course you met Galdine. But there was no... Oh, Rando... You also met with Rando Carteresian. Because I had to. And through that, Cal had met Trevor, one of the salesmen there in the Coliseum, who, Cal being just the lovely, endearing personality, did what?
I don't even remember.
You were very rude to him.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, there's been so many times where I've pissed people off, it's hard to keep track.
No, we're forgetting a whole thing. Because the reason that he doesn't like you is it wasn't even that you went in and you're rude. He was holding a thing in the middle of the night. You and Rhaegorn.
Oh, that's right. You guys followed him. I completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
You guys.
It was the middle of the night because you guys heard some commotion. You
after Trish,
right? That was my first interaction with Grom Tag as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's when you met. The night before is when you met all the different fighters,
right.
And you then talking, and you guys hit on a roof, and then you guys tried to get down, and you landed, and then Greg went.
Right.
And everyone was like, "What?"
Because they were trying to sell what they would be fighting in the Coliseum for.
That's right, the information.
Right.
And then that's where Galdine showed up. That's where you guys first met him. He bought the plans and shredded them.
That's right.
And was like, "Fair fights for everyone." Everyone got really mad. That's when you met Grom Tag, who was like, "Hey, if I see you again messing around with any of my stuff, I'll kill you."
Basically.
Grom Tag is a lizard folk. He was as I remember describing, more salamander-like. So that was when they met the party, and they had a quick fight, and then they immediately ran. Then went to bed. Well, next morning, that's when you saw Liren's gone. Then you talked to Trevor again. He was like, "You're from last night. I hate you. Also, you're really rude.
So you can't have anything
you
from
can't
my
have
shop."
Nothing.
So I basically got banned from the shop.
Yep. It was great.
It sucked.
So, despite the fact that we were missing Liren, we went to the Coliseum because, again, we had signed up for it already. Because we weren't even convinced that she was kidnapped. We're like, she might have been gone. She might have been kidnapped. We'll deal with that.
She might have been on drunken stupor just somewhere in the city.
Right. Because we've had experiences where some of the party members have had, one-night stands and stuff like that. So it was a possibility. It was out of her character, but it wasn't totally out of the realm of anything.
So that's when you ran into Droppelman.
Right, and he talked to us as a group at first.
Then He pulled you aside.
He pulled me aside. Because, he talked to us as a group. He was like, oh, good fighting. Oh, it should be really good. You guys are a unique team. This will be interesting.
We should sell tons of tickets.
Yay. Have a good day, everyone. Hey, Soren, can you wait a second? Okay.
And I remember not trusting him because I messaged you.
Right, and I didn't trust him either. And that kind of goes in with the first impression of Drapoman. Because Soren's very much the understanding of warriors. Like, all the people that fight in the Coliseum, he's like, these are my people. I like these kind of guys. But the guy who won't fight himself but sits in an office and pitting people against each other, he's like, you're garbage. I don't like you at all.
You're garbo. Instant garbo.
Which then leads to the reason he pulled Soren back was like, hey, Soren, why don't you go talk to Galdine? He's going to like you. You guys have already met and you guys are okay. Because when I met Galdine, he initially questioned, because it's like, oh, I worship Thor, you worship Thor, this is great. And he was like,
brother.
And he was like, prove it. I was like, okay, here's my Thor's hammer that Thor gave me. And he's like, boom. Yeah, you cool, fam.
You go.
But so then Drapoman's like, hey, go tell Galdine to take a fall for me.
Go tell Galdine to take a fall for me. You
That's
come
right,
for me in the day of my Coliseum fight.
That's
not how he talks like that.
And Soren pretty much told him, no.
No.
It's like that, no.
Which he did send for your conversation with Galdine. He did send.
He sent his
dog.
Yes, he had a dog. Wasn't it like a little pug or something?
Yep.
So then I went straight to Galdine, talked to him. I was like, hey, Drapoman's trying to pull some crap. I ain't gonna do it.
I ain't taking a fall. And then Galdine was like, yeah,
I know. Like, I'm aware. He's looking at me through the dog right now. Where'd you drop him? And the dog's like...
I forgot about the dog.
Yeah, he's a familiar.
I didn't.
That's his dog. That's as familiar as a dog.
And so then Drapoman wasn't happy that
Nope.
I said no, as well as Galdine going, no. He doesn't like being told no.
So yeah, that led into the fights, which were taken in rounds. Each team would go in and fight, and if they succeeded, they would move to the next round, which then got harder and harder and harder, and teams were dropping. Some teams nearly won, some teams had people almost die, and they had individuals ready to go for healing and for saving people. They also tried to heal the monsters and other things they fought, because... money. You spent money getting it, you don't want to die.
Right. Yeah.
And then after some narrow victories and some pretty easy victories for you guys, you got to the final round where you...
I forget, were we the very final round or was Galdine's after?
No, yours was the very final round.
Okay, so the thing that we saw right before our final round was Galdine and his few random men fighting, were they black oozes?
There was an ooze and one other large creature, and most of them went down, and it was Galdine by himself, and that's when he took out a sword, and you saw him like, swishing, 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 and everyone was like, oh, we don't want to fight him. Yeah. He was soloing.
Yeah. Fighting ooze.
Ooze. Yeah. And so... during the final fight is when you guys got another glimpse at the capability of clockwork in this universe, where you've seen clockwork and the clockwork heart.
Right.
And this is when the first time you've really seen an entire being that's flesh and clockwork forced together.
Right.
When you fought not one, but two clockwork displacer beasts.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know what a displacer beast, imagine a six-legged, large panther-like creature with tentacles on its back with not suction cups, but bladed ends that when they stick, they rip flesh off. And though they weren't regular tips, they were tipped with daggers, and there were two of them. And Displacer Beasts have a wonderful ability where they can create a shadow copy of themselves, and you cannot tell which one's which unless you hit the main one or you phase through the wrong one.
Because there were some other things in the same thing. It wasn't just the two Displacer Beasts.
There was other things there too.
There were tiny little...
But the Displacer Beasts...
Those were the big guys.
They did quickly dispatch the little ones, and the Displacer Beasts were the only things left.
Yeah, those were the big ones. Because everyone was like, I hit it. Oh no, it was not...
I missed. So, after Everyone except for the last two up was Sorn and Balal.
Right, because I even tried to sacrifice myself to win.
And that is when you found out, with your new ability of being level 3 in your aura, which, by the way, we should talk about, what's your subclass?
Oh, I'm subclass is Storm Herald.
And what's yours?
Demonic Tormentor.
And Hannah's is Arcane Blade. That's her subclass.
Yeah.
Rhaegorn's at the time was Beastmaster.
Right.
And Bilal's is Circle of the Moon.
Right.
Yes.
So that's everyone's subclass that they're stuck with for the rest of all of time.
And it was how we found out that the Clockwork were susceptible to
lightning.
That's right, because we had bought the lightning arrows from...
You bought the zap arrows and it stunned him more and did damage to Clockwork. And his lightning, every time he called it down from the aura, it did double damage. As if, machines don't like when they're surged with power or something. Oh, weird.
So we in a long fought battle to beat those.
And it came down to Bilal, who did a last-ditch effort after you went down. It was last turn on pretty much everyone. If Bilal hit and did enough damage, just Blazer Beast down. If he didn't, Blazer Beast was probably going to kill him.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do a just slim margin of victory. They won and became the new team champions of the Coliseum.
No.
Well, you became the contender for it.
Yeah, it came down to the fact that we had survived and then Galdine had survived.
The only
Right.
one.
The only one survived. So in order to determine the champions, Galdine was the one that threw any armor he had to the ground,
And
his weapons to the ground, and was just like, Sorn, come on, just
come now.
And put his fists up, and Sorn was like, all right, cool. Put down all his stuff and walked over, and then they ensued in a fist fight that came.
You were down to like what, 2 health at that point?
Yeah,
yeah,
I had
that's
like
low.
nothing. I had like 1 hit left for me to go down. He
missed. He meant the last one. He whiffed, and you were like, "No!" Bam! And that, and you guys, knocked him unconscious, but immediately got him up, and you guys became the team champion.
Yay!
Yeah.
The Stormbreakers.
Which got them a little bit of money, a lot of fame in the town.
Yes.
So
everyone learned the Rhaegorn,
everyone learned
yes.
what in the universe is now the Rhaegorn,
which is the dab,
which is still people still do it.
at least in the town.
So that was when you guys, that was another big victory for you guys.
Mhm.
So how'd that make you feel?
It definitely felt like we finally got some credit for something. With the first arc, and we got the city, that was great. But these were some really tough battles, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
Especially coming down to the blow for blow, everything was really close.
Everyone was like edge of the seat, being like, "Look at the die rolls!" Like, "Oh, what's happening?"
Because he's including even the drinking. This was like the section that had some of the closest calls repeatedly, and I don't know because we were relatively low levels, so we were a lot of us were still learning. So it was one of those things where it's like crap, almost eat that. Yeah!
There's much yelling.
Yes.
Much huzzahing. So how'd that make Cal feel?
Cal had money now.
Cal's
very poor.
Very
So
poor.
anytime Cal gets money, it's great, because it means I can afford to drink.
Lyran felt nothing. She was not there. As far as I know, Rhaegorn felt,
he was hyped.
He was hyped.
hella hyped that he did that.
He
And
wanted
got
to
the
drink. He
Rhaegorn,
wanted to have fun. He wanted to find some honeys.
and he did. And then Bilal was like, "Cool," just like Cal, like, "Cool, I have money."
Yeah.
But actually, I can buy things. So soon after the fight, if you want to take over for right now.
So after the fight, Rita met up with Grom Tag, who was one of the people that Rhaegorn and I had followed, as well as one of the opposing fighters. And we kind of got him alone, and he kind of dropped this facade of being like this tough guy. And it was revealed that he was the one who had kidnapped Lyran. And he explained that he was trying to protect her, and she backed him up on this. So, we kind of believed him.
It turned out that they found out that Grom Tag was a noted demon hunter.
Yeah.
Who had some connections.
Who had connections with what they were trying to do and who they were messing with. And it was another hopeful ally that the group found.
Right.
Because they're like, Demon Hunter, wait a minute.
Because
we have demons.
Right. Because Gromtag has connections with the Postman.
He does. You also learn that he knows the Postman. And they have, even though that there are different factions looking with different end goals, their networks cross paths because as you hunt demons, you learn more nefarious things. And the, Postmen want to learn everything, and as the Postmen learn everything, they kind of learn of the dark-seated deals.
Right, and I think that was a factor as far as why we were more willing to trust him. Like, he could be like, oh, I'm a demon hunter, totally fine, don't worry about me, everything's cool. But it was like, hey, I'm friends with the Postmen. And we're like, okay, the Postmen are good people. All right, we can see trusting you a bit more now.
Yeah.
And then through Gromtag, you learned some vital information about what the group could possibly do next. And this is where, as a DM, I'll give my insight. I love doing branching paths at one time. I love giving more than one option. I hate the idea of railroading, like, chug, 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 chug to my plot points. I mean, the world exists, and as I told the players when they reach level 5, because up until level 5, they had this nice thing called plot armor, where the plot would not let them die, because I am not a terrible person. I will let the people who are learning how to play D&D have fun. But as soon as they got to level 5, knew their characters, plot armor fell off. And they became squishy, squishy fun bags. And I let them know through the decisions where, like, that the world exists and does not give a crap about them. They exist. The world will continue with or without them. So things are always happening in the background. If they want to spend, let's say they want to spend a month in game, going to a beach and vacation on the beach. In that month, things are going to happen in the world. It's not like everyone else in the world is like, hey, and wherever they are continues. Things are happening, and so I give them the split decision. And I will let each one of you talk about the split decision because right now the story was focusing. It was heading towards Cal and Sorn and their individual backgrounds and what was happening. So I will let...
Well, I think some of it, because some of the information that I had learned was actually, it wasn't that late, because it was done earlier when we were in Dramek, we found out about it.
But you learned more, you learned like this, slightly the severity from Gromtag. You heard rumors of the Badlands.
Right, yeah, I heard rumors of the Badlands where the Goliaths were, where I came from, where there was a lot of trouble and to the point where there was feuding sections. Because I remember specifically Bilal asking if I was okay, and Sorn was like, "It's still no, it's fine."
It's fine.
he was kind of pushing it off because he was exiled from his home, so he was like, "It's fine, totally fine. I'm not going back. There's no reason to go back. It's fine." So he was like, so he kind of brushed it off. But then with more information from Gromtag, it was how severe that they were separated. How there was a war about to ensue. It wasn't just trouble in the Badlands. It was like all-out war about to break out, including my parents were heavily involved in it, and that was about all I knew. So there was he was like, oh, should I go do something about this or not? And Sorn was it was more or less like, I don't know. There's a reason I'm not there anymore.
Yep. And so that was path number 1 to the Badlands. And path number 2 that Gromtag pulled Cal aside and let her know.
Was that apparently Cal's mom was nearby or in the city of Dramek.
Cal.
I was abandoned as a child. I don't care.
Yeah.
He very much urged you to go find her. She was seeking you out, but didn't want to confront you directly.
Yes.
And Cal was like, nah.
No, Cal, I mean, after having been abandoned, basically, really didn't want to deal with her mom.
Which makes sense.
So
that was the second option that if she wanted to, she could push for it.
Yeah.
Now, before all this happened, the rest of the party got marked at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
So after this happened, you had learned by this point, because your mark had been noticed. This was after the Coliseum, you guys had noticed this.
Right, because it was Bilal that noticed, wasn't it?
Yes. Bilal had noted, because you kept it covered, but then I forget what you were doing.
Because I was pretty sure when we originally got marked, it was on the back of our necks.
Yes, I think you did something where you like he was looking at you from behind and you like did something. You said you did something.
Yeah, that's probably like a roll for perception check.
Yeah.
And so he noticed the mark, and upon noticing the mark and them discussing it, whom, the mark appeared in everyone else, meaning they were bound together by the deal that Cal had made, and that is when they also learned of the deal that Cal had made.
Right.
And this is why everyone blames Cal.
One of the reasons. So, and then that kind of leads into where the paths start to kind of get decided.
Yeah.
Because it was the night after the Coliseum, and everyone was like, "Oh, where do we go from here?" It's like, "Ah, crap, we're marked. How do we even decide what to do?" Soren then had a vision.
They went to sleep, and Soren had a vision of
the
Badlands and a storm brewing.
His mother was there, and what was it? Mjolnir was there, like sitting on the ground. She walks over to it. Lightning strikes her after she says, like...
She says, like, Soren, we need you. Like, please come home.
Bring peace to the Badlands.
And then... And so...
So after that was kind of like Soren was like, all right, I'm being told I should probably go somewhere here. So his argument to the group was, if we're going to go deal with this whole pack that we're about to deal with, I have to go do one thing. And if you want my help, I'm going to go do it. You can feel free to come with me and help me get through it faster. Or you guys can go without me. That's up to you. But I am going to go to the Badlands and fix a problem first. And then I think that's the rest of the party were kind of like...
Well, we kind of need him. He's our big bruiser.
I mean, to be honest, it's not like Cal was really looking to seek out her mom anyway. So she...
Right. I mean, sure. Cal could have gotten all the signs in the world, and it was like... Nah, I'm good.
Eat it, Joseph. Your mom's right here.
She even got a sign because again with the haunted one thing that she's got going in the journal.
Somebody who called me daughter, was writing to me in this haunted journal, basically saying to not go and see my mom, which I think.
Right, but then you got another handwriting that encouraged you to go see your mom.
This is a good note about her journal. Her journal was marked. Not by Fox or anything. It was marked by someone claiming to be her father. And the handwriting was nice. It would be nice to her depending on what she did, but also very cruel and rude depending on what she did. And then...
But the handwriting wasn't...
The handwriting was finer and cursive that said, "Dearest daughter," and urged her to go see her mother. But the group at this point didn't know about it.
No.
Yeah. So no one knew about the journal, and no one knew about Cal's ability to speak with whoever it is.
It speaks to how, even though with signs, Cal's character was so
nope, it was like, nope.
Yeah, with the blinders.
Yeah.
So, Liren, overall, at this point, had, been with the group, then got pulled away from the group, and she didn't actually mind being kidnapped too much. She got a chance to read her books, talk to Gromtag, and chill.
Because we do need to point out the fact that Gromtag was kind. He kidnapped her to...
He took her away pretty much and was like, "Here, you have my entire house to chill in and
He was like,
there's
a lot more going on than what you guys are aware of. Here, I'm separating you to give you the information so that you can better discuss with the group about it. So that you can at least tell them that I'm not the bad guy here."
Please let them know.
So it was almost like it started off as a kidnapping and more of just like an involuntarily information drop.
Right.
Yeah, it was kind of like a random little vacation for her.
Right. I mean, she got to skip the whole
policy. Right. She didn't have to deal with that.
Yeah, she didn't have to deal with, the displays of being all dying and all that jazz. So yeah, it was pretty good for her. A little mini vacay.
Yeah.
Right. So that was, her thoughts on Gromtag were like, cool dude. Let me crash his house. What about your guys'?
I mean, Gromtag's tricky. I
didn't trust him.
Yeah.
Once again.
Oh yeah, Cal doesn't trust anyone.
I mean, and especially after he said the information about my mom, me not wanting to deal with my mom and, that whole situation, I just assumed that he was also just an awful person.
Right.
So
awful people.
I know for Soren, it was hard to trust him, but again, when he had connections to the postman, Liren wasn't harmed. Liren vouched for him. Soren didn't completely and totally trust him, but he saw him as a potential ally. So it was like better to make more allies than enemies in this situation.
Yeah.
So, but again, with Lyran being unharmed, Lyran vouching for him, giving us more information about everyone. Because again, he was having to volunteer information to anyone about whatever they needed. And again, with his connection to the postman, if we were like, hey, we're heading to Dramek, and the postman were like, yeah, watch out for Gromtag. We've been like, noted. Should probably be aware of that.
I know Bilal was like, cool. Maybe an ally, maybe some info. Like, we could use that. And then Rhaegar was like, Demon Hunter! Demon Hunter! We're friends now!
We have a natural thing to talk about.
And that seems to kind of be a little bit of a recurring theme in the party, is that usually most of the party, including Sorn, will probably trust them, and then maybe definitely Cal and maybe one other person will not trust whoever we're talking to. So in some ways it kind of gets balanced out sometimes.
It's a good balance whenever at least someone's skeptical, because then there's somebody who's like, I see something shady, even though everyone's got rose-colored glasses on. Someone's gonna be like, that's not right.
Right.
So thinking of that's not right. How did Cal think internally about knowing her mother was nearby?
Really, like I said, just didn't want to deal with it. Very angry.
Drink to forget
a lot of hurt feelings. Drinking. Just basically avoidance was her tactic.
I mean, that if I don't see it, it doesn't exist. Don't see it, doesn't exist.
Basically. So it was actually kind of a relief when Cal found out about the situation out in the Badlands, because Cal was like, "What a perfect excuse! It's right there."
So I can get as far away as possible right now.
Exactly. It was like, oh, I'll just go the opposite direction.
Literally, I'm going to go straight south.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, I kind of figured.
I mean, and to be fair, you
you
also had to understand, like, there's, because of the person who was writing to me in my journal and that person claiming to be my father, I really didn't expect my mother to be any nicer to me. So it was just, why would I get myself involved in that?
Right.
And speaking of mothers in peril, or mothers in general,
Murder.
through your dream and through the information you learned that your mother was kidnapped,
right,
and no longer with them. So, how'd that make Soren feel?
Well, we didn't find that she was kidnapped until the next arc. Right now, it was
she was in trouble. That's correct.
She was in trouble, so she was calling to me, and that was the main factor. Because as we come to find the next section, Soren's relationship with his dad isn't good, and again, he's been exiled, so.
Something about people and their parents.
I know, it's so weird.
Everyone's got parents issues, daddy issues, mommy issues, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, well, these 3 members of this party did.
Right.
So I think it was one of those things where, again, he was ready to blow it off because it was like, I'm exiled, it doesn't matter. They made a point of it not mattering. But with the vision, it seemed like a mixture of both Thor and, mainly it was like, Thor was like, hey, your mom wants you out there. You need to do something. And he's like,
I care deeply for my mother, so you must, as my follower.
As a follower, Thor, you must go and figure out your mother's shit.
There's a lot of it. Good luck.
And so I think that was the main factor, and that's why he was like, because again, with Soren being such of the Viking mentality, he's like, well, I could very well die in this situation if I go try and fight. So it's like, well, I'm at least going to go see if I can figure out one thing. Because if I die doing this one thing, that's fine. If I die doing the other thing without trying to fix the first thing,
that's not okay.
That's kind of sucky.
So you all rested for the night and began your week journey.
You're right.
The week and a half journey to Sonderheim.
Yeah.
Right.
And we'll pick that up
in
next time.
The next arc in Solitude in Sonderheim.
Yes, Solitude in Sonderheim.
Thanks for joining us, you guys. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next episode.